In today's video, we're going to be going over some of the best designer fragrances that you can get from some of the top leading designer brands. So we're talking everything from the likes of Versace, Chanel, Armani, Hugo Boss, Carolina Herrera, and a few more. We're going through each brand here and talking about, at least one of my favorites from each brand. That's always going to change and vary from season to season, day to day, and even year to year, depending on what new releases they put out. But as of right now, these are some of my favorites that I really enjoy, and just taking myself out of the equation, some that are really worth picking up because they do provide a lot of value to a fragrance collection. So as always, I'll put links to everything in the video description below if you want to do some shopping. Now we're going to start off with Carolina Herrera. It's, a leading brand. Maybe they are not quite as popular as some other ones, but they have had several popular hits over the years. We kind of have to go into the bad boy lineup for this one. It is Bad Boy Elixir. 3 notes here. We've got leather, sage, and cedarwood. So essentially what we've got, and man, it's simple sounding on paper, and it is a pretty simple scent, but it's a woody, leathery aromatic is what it really is. What I like about this in particular, though, is that it's really not what I was expecting them to do with this. It's not the direction that I thought that they were going to take. I thought it was going to be something that's even more sweet, really leaning into that overly sweet type of new style scent. And don't get me wrong, there is a bit of a sweetness to this one, but it's not like the forefront like you might expect out of a new designer release, right? This one has more of a masculine edge, obviously more of a woodiness. I just find this to be maybe a little bit different than what we're used to. You guys know I'm a big fan of leather scents, and in this one in particular, it's going to be on the more wearable end of things. It's not an extreme smelling leather where it's way too far out there, too animalic, too earthy, anything like that. It's a really nice, well-blended leather. The cedar wood comes in. Personally, I get kind of a patchouli accord as well. Maybe that's something that they've worked into it, or maybe it's just me picking up on that out of nowhere, but I do smell a little bit of that. I'll tell you what this kind of reminds me of. It's a toned down version of Gucci Guilty Absolute. You might notice too, a little bit of a bottle color similarity, whether that's intentional or not. Likely, probably not. But that's kind of what it smells like to me. Now, Guilty Absolute is one that a lot of people don't like, so I don't want to scare you off with that comparison. Again, to double down on this, this is tamed down. It's taking that similar type of leather accord and just reworking it in a way to where it's way more light and blended in a lot better. So it's not to the point where it is earthy or animalic to an extreme sense, like the Gucci might be. You still get a ton of versatility, a ton of wearability and usability out of this scent. And so, that's just kind of what it reminds me of a little bit, just as a little glance, just to maybe give you an idea of somewhat where this one lands. But again, they're making this much more of a true designer approach. The Gucci is obviously a designer scent, but really that could almost pass for niche. It's so out there, honestly. But this one, again, they're keeping this one a little bit more grounded, a little bit more, mass-pleasing. Well, a lot more mass-pleasing. But I do really enjoy this one, and it does give you something that's, a little bit more unique and a nice change of pace. This next one is Hugo Boss, The Collection, Confident Oud. I've talked about this one a few different times on the channel. It caught my eye not because of the name, but because when I looked it up and I saw the note breakdown, that's kind of what piqued my interest here. And, there's only 2 notes that they give us. It's oud and brand. So you're thinking, what on earth could have gotten your attention about that? Well, it's the brand accord. You see, when that note is used, oftentimes it will give off a little bit of a boozy, whiskey, alcohol accord. And so I wanted to know, is this going to go in that direction? Now, it's comical because when you look this up, it retails for $325, maybe $350, and I'm not making that up. You can go look it up for yourself. And that might be like, okay, it's, a designer brand doing their expensive line like every brand does, but the bottle literally has a sticker on the front. I mean, that is unacceptable for $300+ retail, in my personal opinion. Give us something with texture, something with a little bit of a raised look to it, like YSL Tuxedo, which is kind of doing the bare minimum as well, but at least it looks better. This is just a glorified Boss bottled bottle, and they're charging $300+. So what I'm trying to say is, do not pay retail. You can get it for about $60 for 100 ml testers right now. I'll have it linked down below. So make sure you do that instead. Now that being said, this is a fantastic smelling scent. It sounds like I'm hating on it. I'm hating on the retail price. It's actually laughable. But the discounted price, $60 or so, sometimes even a little bit less, that's great. This is really good. It does have that boozy kick like I was expecting it to. What does it smell like? Well, a little bit of Nasomato Baronda, a tiny bit, nowhere near as whiskey focused. And I don't know, you get a little bit of like maybe a straight to heaven type of smell also, somewhat, although it doesn't really double down on anything really, at least in my opinion. This isn't like a straight up clone or inspired by scent of anything in particular. It's just kind of in that DNA or in that style, and then reworking it a little bit. So just think of a nice boozy type of kick with a little bit of a complementary oud accord. It's sweet, it's kind of smoky as well. Man, it does smell really, really good, and I do love this one a lot. And I think if you do want kind of a standout scent from Hugo Boss, maybe you already have Boss Bottled Elixir, Boss Bottled Absolute, this would be one to go for, especially at this price. I mean, it's somehow cheaper than Boss Bottled Elixir and Boss Bottled Absolute on discounters. So it's so weird how this line is going, but that's how it is. All right, we're going to pick up the pace here a little bit. Let's get into JPG Le Beau, just the Le Parfum version here. I almost said Paradise Garden. It was a contender for this video, and I almost threw it in. I figured let's just go back to the Le Parfum here just because I think this one is still definitely worth owning, and just because we've got, well, a couple flankers after this now, Paradise, and then also the Flower Edition. We can't leave this one behind, and I don't think we're going to. Can't leave behind the original either. These are still great scents. So what you've got here is pineapple and tonka bean essentially mixing together with a little bit of coconut too. Kind of gives you this tropical vacation pina colada type of smell, really. And it's so interesting because it's kind of dubbed as a summer scent. It has this summer smell to it because of the pineapple and the coconut. That doesn't really smell like winter festivities to me, but it's a very sweet scent, and that's where people run into a snag, And so how do you approach that? That's going to be up to you and your discretion and what you're comfortable with and prefer. For me, if it's 100 degrees out sweltering, not going to be wearing this, but in situations where I'm inside, in situations where it's not as hot, I've worn this one in some heat with no problem. So it just depends. But if you do want something that's playful, that's fun, that's uplifting, and just smells like vacation, like legitimately, this is going to be a really, really nice one. Huge compliment puller. Really, really strong performer as well. Let's go on to the brand of Versace up next. You got to have some Versace, and most people do. They've got something, and most people probably think of Eros, right? Think of any Eros flankers is one you've got to have. And I agree. I would say now Eros Parfum, Eros Energy, Flame, Najim, they're all really good. The entire lineup is good, to be fair. But I'm more thinking something like $40, $45 Dylan Bleu. Because when you look at this one, it is just, it's going down the list and checking off everything that most people want. Great longevity, great projection, great mass appeal, great versatility, and even really good quality as well. That's 5 things off the top of my head that I could think of that people are kind of looking for. And there might even be some other bonuses you can throw in as well. But it does do all of those things exceptionally well for right at $50 or just under $50 is about where this one usually falls on discounters. Sometimes you can get testers for a bit less. Sometimes these big 200 milliliter bottles will pop up for a good price per mil, and you might decide to go that direction, especially if you're going to make it your signature scent. It might make sense, and it would save you money to get this size in the long run. But that's going to be up to you as well. This is a must-have. It has the C notes, it has the ambergris, it has the incense and patchouli smoky combination. It's a sweeter blue fragrance, but what that sweetness does is it gives it more wintertime usability. There is still enough of a bergamot, bright C note, fresh balance to where you absolutely can wear this in summertime still, and in fact, I do. More so evening time, daytime wear, I like something else. I like a Sauvage or something brighter and fresher, but just know it can work. This is an all year round scent for really close to a cheap price. Let's go for Ralph Lauren up next. You know, they've got all of their classics, all of their icons as well. You could go into the Polo Blue line, the Polo Green, the Polo Red line, all pretty extensive lines at this point with a lot of fragrances. We're not going there though. Instead, we're gonna go over to Ralph's Club. And I know what you're thinking, you know, how lame, Ralph's Club. This one here in particular is exceptional. It is Ralph's Club Elixir version. Has iris, olibanum, leather, and cardamom. Man, it is so good. So surprising as well. It really takes a big step away from the Eau de Parfum and even the Parfum. Now, they've been progressing towards it, so the EDP is the EDP. But the Parfum started to go this way a little bit, but then the Elixir really doubled down on this direction and just went all in on more of a slightly smokier, sweeter take on the DNA from that olibanum. It kind of gives that bright smoke somewhat. Nice leather accord, sweet iris. Still a hint of freshness here to give you somewhat of a balanced out kind of effect from some of that lavender that carries over from scent to scent here in this lineup. But it really does double down on the more interesting and exciting notes. And I think this one is amazing. I think usually around $60 to $70. I can't remember, somewhere around in there depending on tester or not. The bottle is by far the best looking one of the lineup because it has that, I don't know, engraved, it's like set in, that little plaque, it's pushed into the bottle. You can just look for yourself, you don't need me to describe it, but really cool. Nice presentation, hinge cap, the smell is amazing, this stuff is wonderful. You got to check this one out. If you don't like the original Ralph's Club, good chance you're gonna like this. This next one is Dior Homme Intense. I had to go for it, you know, as far as Dior goes, again, we could take that any direction, really. Any Sauvage would probably still be worth owning, in my opinion. Elixir and the Parfum in particular, I think, are still fantastic purchases in 2025 going into 26. You could go for Fahrenheit Les Parfums. I've talked about that one a ton. Fantastic purchase. Just the regular Dior Homme lineup, you know, Dior Homme Sport, Dior Homme Original, Dior Homme Cologne. List goes on, right? Now, Dior Homme Parfum, old version, would definitely be one that I would consider in this video, but you can't get that right now. You could still get the old reliable Dior Homme Intense, and I don't think this stuff is going anywhere, at least I hope not. But we've got iris, we've got leather, we've got ambrette, has this chocolatey, powdery sweetness, doubles down on the powdery smell from that iris. Now, I will say this, it's not the most masculine smelling thing ever. It is Dior Homme, so obviously marketed for men here. I think it could go either way. If you like how it smells, you can wear it. So some people aren't gonna like that. You might want something that smells more masculine, kind of like that Herrera Bad Boy Elixir we talked about in the beginning. So if that's you, go that direction. But if you want something sweet, powdery, and kind of seductive, Dior Homme Intense is one to get. Let's keep on working through here. We have Azzaro, the Most Wanted Parfum. Love it. Ginger and boy, I don't think I wrote the notes down on this one, so I'm gonna struggle here. I know it has ginger off the opening, some sort of tonka bean, and some sort of, now I'm struggling, I'm second guessing myself. Here's what I'll say, it has this kind of grape fizzy opening from that ginger mixing with, I don't know, maybe some sort of sweetness is what provides that, but I know it's mostly from the ginger. And then you got this kind of tonka bean, sweet amber wood, dry down. I know in one of these they listed off vetiver. I can't remember if, I don't really get vetiver off the atomizer here, but sweet, fizzy, bubbly, which is really unexpected. When you spray this one for the first time, you're kind of thinking, whoa, what is that? Kind of has that Dunhill icon grape bubbly opening, but that does dissipate a little bit. You start getting into the sweeter notes and you start getting into more of the characteristics that you would expect out of a wanted flanker, just getting into that sweeter direction here. But it's always been interesting to me, and it's why it's one of my favorites, because it took me off guard and it still kind of surprises me when I spray it. It's like, man, that just has a fantastic head-turning opening. It smells great. You know, from the brand of Azzaro, you could go, again, in several directions with this, but I still like the Most Wanted Parfum. It's a favorite of mine. Now we got to go over to Armani. I think we all kind of think of one fragrance line in particular when we think of Giorgio Armani. It's Acqua di Gio. I mean, that's kind of what they are known for. They have tons of other amazing fragrances as well, although, you know, this one is kind of the one that I think is going to get your dollar stretched the farthest, at least one of them. It is Acqua di Gio Parfum. So really, it's kind of between this and Profondo. So Profondo is going to be more summer based in my opinion. You can wear it year round, but it smells more like straight up summer. This is more, could be used year round. Summer, of course, but also fall, maybe some winter and some spring. It just has a little bit more of a wider scope to it, but it does have the aquatic notes with a little bit of a patchouli, incense, smoke. I know they took out incense and replaced it with olibanum or something, but it still has that incense type of smoke. It smells just like Acqua di Gio Profumo at the end of the day. A nice mature aquatic with great performance. This next one is YSL Eau de Parfum Intense. So when we're going for the brand of YSL, you know, you might think of La Nuit de l'Homme or YSL Myself or anything really, but the Y lineup is definitely at the top of the game right now. I know a lot of people are thinking of the regular Eau de Parfum, and that is a heavy hitter. It's definitely one that you could consider, and I would recommend considering. For me personally, I like the lack of sweetness that the Eau de Parfum Intense gives off. No apple here. Instead, sage and geranium and amped up lavender along with that amberwood. So just taking the aromatics, which were already pre-existing, and just pushing them out even farther. Nothing wrong with the Eau de Parfum, nothing wrong with that sweet apple. I think it smells amazing in a lot of instances, but sometimes it can be a little bit too much. And I found that this just works better for me. This is the type of thing that I've worn for days in a row because it's just like I wear it, I get hooked on it, I enjoyed it so much that the next day I go for it, and the next day and the next day, and it's kind of like snowball effect. It's one that I can just not really get tired of. I love how this smells. Last up for this video, a Chanel. All right, I mentioned Chanel was going to be in here. And honestly, Bleu de Chanel is still worth getting. Okay, take your pick, whichever one you think that you like best. For me, it's probably the Parfum. Now, I will say I do love the new Elixir. It's just very expensive. But in terms of overall bang for your buck, it's going to be this Parfum or the EDP. Yes, they're more expensive than the EDT, but again, we're factoring in bang for our buck here. To me, you're going to get more use out of the Eau de Parfum or the Parfum because they perform better than the EDT, and in this instance, this has a little bit more heaviness, richness behind it. This would have a better chance at holding up in some colder weather, whereas the EDT might start to fall flat. Same deal with the Eau de Parfum, although not quite as heavy and sweet and woody as this one. But it has a lemon zest opening. You get into some sandalwood and stuff later on. Still very much has that signature Bleu de Chanel smell. Why did I say it like that? That signature Bleu de Chanel smell. I don't know what happened there. But it's just, it is more refined. It is more, I don't know, it's more mature. Not that the original two were never not mature. They've always been very classy smelling Bleu since, but this one just takes it to the next level, and that's what I like about it. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some of the best fragrances from some of the top designer brands right now. Like I mentioned, I will link everything down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.